Hi, this is Holly from Mackie Rose Cards. Today we're going to do some different coloring techniques that you can do on your stamped images. The first one we're going to do, I'm going to do Awesome Otters. It's from a Stampin' Up! Set. It's a really cute set. Typically I don't go for the more childlike things, but when I started teaching a group of 10-year-old girls stamping, I started finding that some of these younger themed stamp sets are really cute and they're fun, and they're not just for little girls or little boys, they're for adults to have fun with too. So this one, it's the Awesome Otters. I'm just going to use the one otter. I'm stamping this with Early Espresso, which is a dark chocolate brown stamp set. Ink. Typically, a lot of times when you color, you use on my arm. I'm trying to clean my stamps as I use this. A lot of times you'll use a black ink, but I thought it was kind of fun with the otter to use this Early Espresso chocolate brown. And I'm going to use, this is called Crumb Cake. It's a light tan and it actually comes out darker. And then I'm going to use, this is also a Stampin' Up! Pen. This doesn't have a name. It goes by SU800. It's one of their marker blends that are supposed to be like flesh tone. But I found this is really cute to use on his body. Actually, I'm sorry, I used this one on his nose, so I just colored it in with his nose. And these, most of Stampin' Up! Markers, and you can get a lot of markers through Hobby Lobby, Michael's in the artist section, or online. But I'll show you Stampin' Ups. These are called dual markers, and you can get them other places. It has a light end, I'm sorry if you can see that, a smaller end, and then it has the brush tip end. So typically, I'm going to use the brush tip. I love the brush tips. They're fun to use, and you can have a lot of control with them. Sometimes I'm not the best person to color. As a child, I had a hard time staying in the lines, and sometimes as an adult, I have a hard time staying in the lines. So here's a good example of why the dual tips are good, because I'm going to color in his little paws and his arms, legs, whatever, with the smaller end. So I'm just going to color this in. His little ears, his little feet. And then I'm going to take the brush tip and kind of go around and do the rest of him. I really do enjoy the brush tips. You think that they're hard to control, but they're really not. And again, I'm not the best at coloring. I think because I'm left-handed, I tend to struggle sometimes, and I'm hoping you're able to see this, and that my left-handedness is not blocking the image. But you're starting to see how he's looking pretty cute. There. So it's a cute. I mean, again, these were markers. I do enjoy the markers. Sometimes you just struggle with the colors. Some of the colors I normally try and swatch them on a piece of paper to see if I get the same effect, because this one, sometimes it looks on that grayish, the gray, beige, brown color. So that is one aspect, it's the markers. Let's do another one. Let's do pencils this time. So this one is the Hippus Hippos. And I'm going to stamp this one with the black Stays On ink. And somebody taught me a new inking technique, so let's do that here now. You take your ink pad. I put my stamp on my acrylic block. I have my ink pad, and I'm going to turn my ink pad upside down and just stamp it a few times on my stamp. I find it works easier that way, especially if you have a really large stamp. It's easier to get the ink on instead of trying to stamp your stamp on your actual ink pad and get it all full coverage, and you're trying to flip it around to see, make sure you got your ink evenly distributed. So on this one, like I said, we're going to use pencils, and these are just regular watercolor pencils. They are not Stampin' Up's pencils. They are, I don't know what the brand is. Generic watercolor pencils, but I guarantee you they are definitely watercolor pencils. So on this one, I'm just going to color in her belly with a lighter gray. This one's really kind of hard to see, but it's going to get better as once we do the next part of this technique. And I'm going to do her snout with the lighter gray. And obviously pencils are not as easy as the brush pens to cover a large area, but it's not bad. Let's go ahead and do the darker gray. So I'm going to just do her ears. And her head. And I'm not going to be totally picky about this because I want to show you the next technique, and this will really help. Let's add, reach in here for another color. Let's add a little green for this, and we'll add purple on the flower. And reaching for another one. Let's give her some toenail polish and fingernail polish. Just add a little more color. Okay, so that's done in pencil. That's watercolor. Again, it's watercolor pencils. You don't have to have watercolor pencils. However, for this next part of the technique, you could leave your image like this, but we're going to use a blender pen. This is going to do, you could also, this is a Stampin' Up! Blender pen. You can also get pens or brushes that you fill with water to use with your watercolor. I happen to like the Stampin' Up! Water blender pens. I know you can get some water blender pens off of Amazon that are not Stampin' Up! And at one point I will get those and try them. But for that, you would just go around, and you're going to see a big change on this. You'll see it's just going to kind of all, your coloring's all going to go to blend. Now the one thing is, when you use your blender pen, you want to use it the whole way on the same color. You don't want to jump from color to color, because it's going to, I'm going to show you, it's going to run over if you do. Because this gray pencil, that the darker gray here, let me show you. You can see I'm going to rub it off. And you can see that the tip of this is stained, but as long as you rub it off till it's clear on this other piece of paper, you can go on and do another color. So here's the pink, and it's just making it, turn it into more like a watercolor. Stamp it off. Green. Let's go ahead and do our little toenails and our fingernails. Rub that off, and now we're going to go ahead and do the light gray. And as you can see, I I wasn't perfect with, you can really see it on her snout how it's not perfect. I'm kind of like all over the place with my coloring. But you go in and take this in with your watercolor pen and it blends it all together. It's one of the reasons I think I liked with the watercolors and with the blender pens is I don't have to be as perfect, but once I blend it all in, it turns out really well. So there she is all done. So let's do a flower. One of my favorite things. I have so many flower stamp sets. This one happens to be another Stampin' Up set. Honestly, I do have other stamp sets that are not Stampin' Up. And we're going to do a simple flower here. I'll just do this one here. Pink. Take my StazOn pad. We'll do the new technique upside down. Actually, on this one, you can see how nicely it inks. You can see the dark line on that, on top of the white paper. Turn it around. Stamp it straight down. Lift up. Try not to rock it. And make a stamp. And I'm going to show you again. I know I've showed this in other videos, but just in case you haven't seen any of the other videos, the scrubbing that I'm doing happens to be the Stampin' Up set. They call it the Stampin' Scrub Pad. You spray on one side and you clean your stamp and then you dry it off on the other side. And I'm sure there's some other ways to clean it. Sometimes I use a baby wipe. As you can see, if you look at my hands, I've been stamping a lot today, so I am staining. The dark colors that I've been using today have stained it a little bit. I soak in the bathtub at night, it's coming off. For the most part, I should say. Sometimes it doesn't always come off. So, alright. So in this one, I'm gonna show you two different things again here. One with markers and one without. I happen to find, this is a Stampin' Up! Bright marker. This is called Soft Succulent. It definitely doesn't look like the color of the cap, that's for sure. But when I played around with it, I thought, oh, this is such a pretty greenish, bluish, grayish color. Again, I'm using the brush tip. Brush tips are pretty forgiving. And I haven't found, I have some cheaper markers that are dual that I have gotten at Hobby Lobby. So there you can see that image. I'll show you one of them here. So this one is, what's the brand on this? This is called Master's Touch Fine Art Studio, and I did purchase this at Hobby Lobby. It's this whole set. They come in, oh gosh, variety of number of different colors and stuff. So this one has a very fine tip on one end, and then it has the brush tip on the other. So I'm going to show you one more technique before we close out this video, and I'm going to use the same stamp that I just used with this Soft Succulent color and show you what you can do. You take the side of your marker brush tip, and then you just go over your ink pad as best you can. And just use the side of the brush tip. I'll set it down, it might be a little easier. And yes, I'm going to get it on some of the outskirts of it, but and then you take it and you can stamp it. Now obviously this one, it's a little ragged on some of the coloring because I kind of didn't do it real well. But it gives you another technique that you can use for stamping and for coloring. That's pretty close. You could actually come in and then color through this if you wanted to. But this technique is also nice if you want to stamp an image. And we'll have to do this in another one. where you have different colors. Actually, let's go ahead and do it on this one. Let me clean this off quick, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to use Stampin' Up! Markers. I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz, and I'm going to use Magenta Madness. So for Pear Pizzazz, I'm going to, if you can see, I'm going to color this little stem in. So I'm using the side of the marker on that part, and then I'm going to use the pink, the magenta, to color the rest. It's kind of hard now to see where I got because these polymer stamps really get stained so I'm going to go back through that kind of green again. So I have two different colors on here. Let's take a look. So you can get a brief idea of what it is. So I did the stem in the Pear Pizzazz, and then the magenta I did with the rest of the stamps. So that was just using the brush tips on your actual stamp. So there's a variety of ways that you can color and get color on your images. So having said that, I'm going to close for today. Please comment on the bottom here, link, subscribe to my channel, any comments, anything you'd like to see. I'd be happy to do that. Next video we're going to do, I will take these images and I will show you how we're going to put them into cards. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.